Do you want your hand-woven baskets to withstand wear and last for a long time? In this video, I'm going to cover how to use stains and sealers to protect your baskets from mold, mildew, and dirt. The first method I want to show you is staining using the brush method. It takes about 15 minutes to stain a basket if you're working fast and it's a medium-sized basket. When you're using this method, you want to allow your basket to fully dry before you stain it. I like to complete a basket, let it dry for 2 full days before I go to stain or seal it. This ensures that all the layers and the thickness of the reed has completely dried, so when we put the stain on, we're not blocking water or holding water inside the basket. To do this staining method, I typically work outside or somewhere that's well ventilated, and I prefer to do this on a day when it's not windy because it doesn't blow things onto your basket or into your workspace. Lay a piece of clean cardboard out on your work surface to protect it, and wear a face mask. I like to do this because the smell of the stain tends to give me a headache these days, and I also like to wear gloves because it's really hard to get the stain off of your skin if it splatters. Do be aware that the stain in this method, especially if you're scrubbing the brush into the crevices, is going to splatter a bit, so maybe wear long gloves that cover your forearms, or wear a crummy shirt that you're okay that it gets splattered. For the brush on application, you can use a disposable brush or a reusable brush. It's up to you whether you want to clean the stain out. It is a little bit difficult to get that out, so you will want to use soap and warm water and kind of scrub the stain out of the bristles once you're done. Once you've chosen your stain, you'll open it up and use a popsicle stick or a stir stick of some sort to mix it up. The pigment tends to sink to the bottom of the can, and so you need to mix it up so that it's equally distributed so that it applies evenly to your basket. Then to apply the stain, you'll dip the end of the brush into the stain. Use a crisscrossing motion or a scrubbing motion to get it onto the surface of the reed. I like to do a light brush over it first and then get in and go a little bit more aggressive to get it into the crevices. You will apply stain to both the inside and the outside of the basket, so start with the outside because you want a nice full coverage on the outside, and then you'll do the inside of the basket. Some of the stain will have kind of splattered through to the inside of the basket, so you'll just even this out with the coat for the inside. Allow the basket to sit for 3 minutes. This 3 minutes allows the basket to soak up some of the stain, and then go in with a lint-free cloth and rub the sides of the basket and rub out the inside of the basket with that cloth to remove any excess dye that's on the surface of the basket. This means you won't have any sticky bits or any places where it's really thick or extra pigmented. Then you're ready for cleanup. Then you'll clean out your brush if you're going to reuse it. Use soap and warm water to clean it out, and I like to put the soap in my palm and then rub the brush against my palm to get as much of the stain out as possible. Then you'll let the brush dry for your next staining project. You can also close up the can of stain so that it doesn't dry out. I do tap this with a little bit of force to make sure that that can lid sits in place nice and snug. Now you'll leave your basket to dry. The next method is sealing. So you have staining, which is changing the color of the basket, and then you have sealing, which is maintaining the color and just sealing the reed so that it doesn't mold or mildew. It can't absorb moisture, and this protects it from the environment. So if you live in a humid area like I do, your baskets may absorb water from the air, and if it's warm and damp, it can cause mold or mildew. I have done a video all about how to clean your baskets if they do get mold or mildew on them, and then you can do this staining or sealing method to protect them. If you like the natural color of your reed, or you wove with colors and so you want to maintain those colors, using a clear sealer is a great idea to protect your basket and maintain the color of the reed. I will have a list of suggested stains and sealers. Sign up for my email list. We will send you a list of all my favorites. That link is in the description below. You can use the brush method for a sealer as well. I like to use a spray can method because it's a lot quicker and it's easy to find sealers in a spray can. For using a sealer from a spray can, I usually apply 2 thin coats. You'll follow the directions on the back of the can for mixing instructions, and again, work in a well ventilated area. You'll lay out cardboard and the basket on the cardboard, and then spray a thin coat over the outside and the inside of the basket. If you hold the can about 10 inches away from the basket, you will get the most spray applied to the basket and less waste. Work in short passes, trying to overshoot the basket just a little bit, but not too much, because again, you don't want to waste the sealer, you want to be able to hit the basket as much as possible with that sealer. Allow the first coat to dry for 15 minutes, and then you can apply a second thin coat, again spraying the outside of the basket and the inside of the basket. If your basket has a handle, be sure to hit that with spray as well, because it's usually wooden and you want to be able to protect that as well. If you happen to have a metal swing handle or some other kind of handle that's a different material that you don't want to get sprayed, you can cover this with painter's tape or wrap it with paper and tape it up so that this spray doesn't apply to that area. The final coat will dry for about an hour outside or wherever you did your spraying. Now let's talk about dry times, because drying times are different for different materials. You will want to reference the can of material that you are using, so whether that's a spray sealer or a spray stain or something from a can, it will mention how long it needs to sit. Typically, stains and sealers have kind of a smell, a very chemically type smell, and over the years I've developed a propensity to get headaches from that smell. So the way I handle this is to do all of my spraying or sealing outside so that it's a well ventilated area, and then I leave my sealed or stained baskets out on my back porch for about a week. Sometimes more if the basket has that scent to it, and this allows it to fully dry and that scent to dissipate. So when I bring it back into my home or wherever I'm keeping it, it doesn't smell and it's not going to give me a headache. Now, there are benefits to both the spraying method and the brush method for both stains and sealers. If you walk into a hardware store and you go to the wood stain section, you can pretty much grab any of those colors, and there's quite a wide variety. Often they are in a can because they're meant to be applied to wood. If you, like me, want to spend less time staining your baskets and more time actually making baskets, then you may be drawn to the spray version. And there is a product called Basket Weaver Stain that's in a spray. It does stain your basket or have multiple different shades, so you could choose from multiple different wood finishes from Basket Weaver Stain, and this is a material that I really like to use. When I use a sealer, I typically always go for a spray can because it's quick, it's easy, I'm keeping that natural color, and it gives a pretty even application of finish onto my baskets without giving any tackiness or anything like that. Another benefit of the can is that when you're brushing on a stain or a sealer, you can really get the bristles of your brush into the layers of the weaving and kind of behind some of the rows, and so you get maybe a fuller application of a stain or sealer if you have that can method with the brush. Whereas with the spray, you're doing a coat and it's going on quickly, but it's not getting behind the layers as much. In my experience, as far as usability and avoiding mold or mildew, putting a spray sealer on has worked just fine, and I haven't had recurring mold issues when I use a spray versus a can, but that is something to consider. If you want more coverage and the basket's going to shift and the natural color is going to show through, using a brush will get you a much better coverage. There are a few alternatives to stains and sealers that you can use to finish your basket and protect them from mold and mildew. This list isn't exhaustive. These are just some that I have seen others use or have tried myself. So one option is linseed oil. This is one I haven't actually tried myself, but other basket weavers that I work with suggest it as a good option. The other, which I have tried and works well, is butcher block oil or cutting board oil. This is a light kind of mineral oil that you can rub onto the surface of your basket inside and out like you would a sealer. It's clear, so it's not going to change the natural color of the reed. It might darken it just a little bit, but when you do this, you'll want to allow the basket to sit for multiple days to absorb the oil so it doesn't get grease spots on whatever you put in your basket. Check out this video where I talk about cleaning your baskets and protecting it with oils. Okay, now that you know the how, I want to talk about the what. So what types of stains and sealers should you use? My initial response to this is usually if you go into your local hardware store and go to the wood stain section, you can grab pretty much any can of stain or sealer and it's probably going to work. You probably should check that it is meant for wood because reed has lots of similarities to wood, and so if it works for wood, it's probably going to work for reed. So anything that's a varathane sealer or stain, I like Deft sealers. It's a spray can, it's clear, it's non-yellowing. Those are things that I would look for in a sealer. It's non-yellowing, it's clear, and the finish is matte or flat. so it won't add a funky sheen to your basket. I feel like if you add something that has a shininess to it, it makes your basket look a little bit tacky or kind of fake plastic-like. And the natural reed has such a wonderful organic texture that I like to enhance that rather than detracting from it. So using something that's matte or flat is ideal when you're using just a clear sealer. If you are going for a stain and you want to change the color of your basket, then something like a Danish oil or a varathane stain. I do use Minwax every once in a while, and I have a full list of all of the stains and sealers that I've tried, and I can email it to you if you sign up for my email list using the link in the description below or this QR code. Another question that I get often is, why would you stain or seal a basket in the first place? And my answer to that is that reed is super absorbent. So when you are weaving, we dip it in water so that it becomes soft and pliable and easy to work with, which is a great aspect of reed for making baskets. But one of the issues for the longevity of the basket is that because it's so absorbent, if you live in a humid environment, it's going to suck the moisture out of the air and be damp. And that is a breeding ground for mold. And I've had a lot of baskets mold or mildew on me, and so they get little green spots or kind of smell musty, and I don't like that in my home space, and I don't like having to clean my baskets over and over and over again to make sure that they're not molding. So a solution to that I found is to seal them or to stain them. You can clean baskets that have molded or mildewed, but the likelihood of that coming back if you just leave it raw is higher because those pores have kind of entered the surface of the reed, and so if the environment is just right, more mold and mildew can erupt. And so to avoid that, I seal my baskets. Another reason is for longevity. The oils in our skin, dirt from harvesting your garden, and even dust can start to wear away at the surface of the reed and cause discoloring and eventually degrade the reed. Sealing lowers this risk by giving the reed a protective barrier. I sometimes get pushback on the idea of using wood stains to seal or stain your basket, and the idea being that those seal the breathability or the pores of the reed and can lower its quality or start to ruin the basket. Though one observation I have made is that stains can sometimes make the basket a bit crunchy at first because some layers stick together, but after some use and love, I found that this goes away. I'm sharing my method of staining and sealing it. I've had 20 years of experience doing this, so this is just what I've developed and what works for me. If you're not comfortable with that, that's totally fine. You can do a different method. There is oiling, there is Danish oil, there's basket weaver stain, you could use linseed oil. So there are lots of options out there that you can apply to your baskets. Another question that I get is, why don't we stain the reed before we weave the basket? Theoretically, that seems like it might be easier, but the problem with that is that when we stain the basket or seal the basket, we're intending to seal it away so that it doesn't absorb moisture. And the whole point of using reed in basketry is that we can put it in water and it becomes pliable and soft and workable because it's absorbed that moisture. So if we stained or sealed before we started weaving, we would eliminate the ability for the reed to absorb water and become soft and pliable, and it would just be crunchy and crack and be brittle to work with. So you wouldn't get the results of your basket weaving that you probably want. So we stain and seal after the basket's woven so that we can get that pliability at the beginning, and then stain and seal it once it's dry to eliminate it absorbing more water from the air and molding or mildewing or starting to degrade because of dust or dirt or the oils from our hands. For more basketry content, check out this video. Until next time, happy weaving.